scholarship right now. When you go into an academic circle, the precursor for civilization is writing, because we cannot speak about the historical period unless we have someone who is documenting it. So when we're speaking about the historical period, we need writing that is documented. And as far as we can see in Kemet, the writing that is documented is earliest documented from around 3100 BCE. That does not negate the fact that there were civilizations before it, because the Torah agrees with the idea that there were civilizations before 3100 BCE. But we're talking about the ushering in of writing. Now, to finish my point on whether or not the Bible is anti-African, I want to again touch on the word Kush. When we look at the word Kush from a Hebrew perspective, there is actually a deeper science within it. When Moses was credited as marrying an Ethiopian woman, the Torah doesn't call her Ethiopian, which is the Greek term. The Torah uses the Aboriginal term, which is Kush. The numerical value of the word for Kush in Hebrew literally means beautiful of appearance. That shows you what the Hebrews viewed the people of Kush as, their very skin, beautiful in appearance. The Torah is also one of the most ancient records on earth which speaks about black being beautiful. When you open up the Song of Songs, it says, I am black and deeply desirable. So it speaks about the greatness of color. As far as anti-African, that comes from other Israelite sects, and I'm very curious to hear what Brother Seti would have to go into the Bible to show anti-Africanism.
Okay, I'm going to go to Noah, and I'm going to go to his 3 sons. They have a mechanism to wash away everything that came before they was on the scene. And so yes, Ethiopia is the primal spot of the Lord in the beginning, but they immediately with the flood washed that away, and the starting point is now Mount Ararat. And from there, from the boat, then
I'm not sidetracking, I'm dealing with it perfectly. We allowed him to speak, let's allow me to speak. The Narmer palette celebrates what? The unification. Anybody listening right now could feel the room, could feel the power in the environment, and they also could feel the slithering in the environment, because
slithering. All right, welcome back for another lesson. Here's Francisco for another educational video. Woo! Alright, so we come into this freaking Pan-Africanism, Afrocentric views. I'm sorry, there's no disrespect to you. I know I sound like this. It's just hard when you've done so much research. When you have to explain to somebody the basics. So we're gonna go to the basics. Genesis. Because somebody not so long ago told me that the Persians wrote the Bible, Xerxes, and that Israel is fake. The Bible is fake. Alright, let's get into it. Alright, let's go. Silence. Let's get ready to rumble.
Funny business going on right now, because if we're going to look in the Torah and speak about the celebration of death in terms of African people, first of all, Kemetic people don't represent every single tribe in Africa, because there were certainly times in Kemet when Cometians went against Africans as well. Let's look at the Narmer palette. What does the Narmer? Let me finish, brother. Let me finish. I'm dealing with it right now. I'm not sidetracking. I'm dealing with it perfectly. We allowed him to speak. Let's allow me to speak. The Narmer palette celebrates what? The unification between Upper and Lower Egypt. And you see the standard to the right of Narmer himself bears what? The banner of who? The Necharu. That means the gods favored it as well. Those people who are conquered are African people on the Narmer palette. They're not Asiatics, according to the Kemetic scholars. They're African people. So here we have
he brought them to Africa.
Of writing coming out of Kemet. The Narmer palette is celebrating the death of. Allowed him to speak. Let's allow me to speak.
All right. So I'm gonna have to turn you around. All right. Are you ready? Yeah. So Ham is fake. sorry to tell you. Ham is not real. I have videos. You can watch those videos and I'll show you how it's really Cham. And they changed it to ham so we wouldn't know Cham. And guess what? Narmer is evidence of it. You see, Narmer is a prehistoric dynasty of Egyptian pharaoh who was the first pharaoh of Egypt. Alright. He's not African. He's not Africanus. No, he's not. So, did you see his face when he brought up the Narmer pattern? Woo! Let's get it. Narmer, Narmer, Narmer. Nimrod, Nimrod, Nimrod.
The Narmer palette celebrates what? The unification between Upper and Lower Egypt. And you see the standard to the right of Narmer himself bears what? The banner of who? The Necheru. That means the gods favored it as well. Those people who are conquered are African people on the Narmer palette. They're not Asiatic.
And he brought them. So now we understand that the black people are not Hamites. They weren't from Africa. They're actually Japhetites. They're from Asia, and they was conquered by this guy Narmer, and he migrated them into Africa. And this is where we get the beginning of the mass amount of Africans, or mass amount of people in Africa. Before that, maybe we were sojourners, maybe travelers, traders, but until that time, they were still Canaanites. And Narmer is a Girgashite.
According to the Kemetic scholars, they're African people. So here we have the oldest record of writing coming out of Kemet, the Narmer palette, is celebrating the death of other Africans. But you go into the Torah now and you say, "Oh, y'all celebrating the death of Africans." Well, let me make this clear right. Let me make this clear right now. Let me make this clear right now. You cannot go as far as the Bible, which took place according to you, and we're in agreement, much later, when much earlier the same thing coexists in ancient Kemet. Several times in ancient Kemet you had the Kemetic people. Hold on, my brother, because when it's your time to speak, I'm gonna allow you to speak. All right, I hear you, but when it's your time to speak,
New York jingle, baby.
Either we gonna have a conversation or we not. I mean, that's all I'm saying. Either we gonna have a conversation or we not. You can jab, but I damn sure throw knockout blows. So you can jab or you. All right. I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried about that. When the information
always,
becomes
brother,
oppressive
always.
to the mind, you see the action and the reaction of the people.
Oh,
because
yeah.
when we deal with scholarship, I'm very
it.
disciplined. So let me finish my point. The Narmer palette itself is celebrating the victory of Kemet over other Africans. So we have to cut that crap out. Also on the Narmer palette, you see that the Necheru are praised for that victory. And again, replete throughout the Kemetic text,
It's kind of like he took a side.
Is the same
Hey,
idea.
you know, it's fucked up. It looks like Saran and Setney just took a side. Like, oh, I thought he was gonna say that guy's not a Cometian, and we weren't the first Egyptians. I thought he was gonna say that, but he just said that Cometians conquered Africans, so we're cool. You see him? See his face? Oh, we good. Damage control.
Dear, you find Kemetics with their hands all over the same Nubians that everybody's talking about in every lecture. How many times do we see the ancient Kemetic go into Nubia and tear them up and leave their buttocks out? So if we're going to talk the truth, let's talk the truth. Every people upon the face of the earth don't agree. You can't walk into ancient Kemet and say, "I got melanin, so I'm a part of you." It didn't work like that. You have to say what pedigree you're from, what tribe you're from, what people you're from, what's your culture, what's your heritage. You having melanin was not sufficient to make you Kemetic. So let's cut that shit out from the beginning right now. In order for you to be Kemetic, you have to be of Kemetic stock and pedigree, because the ancient Kemetics fought with several Africans and laid their ass out too. So if we're going to talk truth, let's talk the goddamn truth. That's what I'm saying.
No. He didn't pass them out. That's all right.
Can't let him skate on that.
Yeah. No, but that's all right. What's clear here, that regardless if he put up a historical tablet or whatever, we understand
regardless
the Netaru print.
Yeah. Regardless, he got a tablet. He could bring a motherfucker here today who from there. And I don't care, because regardless, I'm Pan-African. Which you should be, but you're not African. You're Japhethite, and your rings on your head proves it.
Principles, cosmic principles. We don't believe in no man in the sky.
Actually, he's not even a Japhethite. Sorry. His rings just proves that his mom, his foremother, was a Japhethite. So he's an Ishmaelite. Because he has the full beard. That's a Hebrew phenotype. But their kids, the Ishmaelites' kids, which is the first son of Abraham, had the circles in their head. But they had the full beard too. I don't even think he is an African. I think he's a son of Ishmael. You can look up the Ishmaelites on the internet. The black Ishmaelites, the first Arabs. So let's move on. They grumble.
Again, the Torah or the Bible, I don't speak for the Bible, by the way. I speak for the books of Genesis through Malachi. I speak for the Tanakh, the Old Testament. I don't agree with Christianity as introduced by the Eurocentric world. I deal with the foundation, which is the Torah. And again, when we look into the Torah is not celebrating the death. The redemptive process coming out of Kemet does not celebrate the death of the ancient Kemetics or the ancient Kemetic people. We are celebrating our redemption from a place which was a house of slavery to us based on the text of the Torah. That is what we are celebrating. We're not celebrating death. In fact, the Torah says this with regard to Egyptians. You have to consider an Egyptian your brother, for you were strangers in his land. That's in the Torah. The Torah itself says that you must show the Egyptian respect or love because of the fact, as they have pointed out, I've heard said on several videos before, point out, y'all was in our land. When there was no corn or no goddamn grain growing in the Levant, where did y'all come? Kemet. Okay, so the Torah reminds us of that. You were strangers in their land. They opened their doors to you. As a result, you have to always show love. The beef that the God of Israel has with the people of Kemet is not necessarily the people, it is the doctrine. So hold on my brother, because either you're gonna act like a moderator or a defender. The judge can't play prosecutor. You gotta pick sides. All right, you're the judge right now, so you can't be prosecutor. I think he should be allowed to defend himself since they call him the general. All right, he definitely gonna ask some questions. Or Devon is gonna ask questions on behalf, because I know that he's gonna ask questions that's gonna speak to the heart of this matter right now. But before I leave this matter, I gotta make this absolutely clear. When I go into a place, the very first thing I identify myself as an Israelite. That term for me, what's implicit is the Afrocentric. I understand that perfectly. And real Hebrews say that. My brother Divine Prospect is in the room right now, and he's in Atlanta. There's a group in Atlanta called the RBG Hebrews, the red, the black, and the green. Why they call themselves that? Because they see that there have been several groups of Hebrews that have surfaced in the last 20 years that have tried to disassociate the Hebrews with Africa. So we are re-emerging, showing that not only is our culture Afrocentric in origin, but we are also stressing the idea that our practice and our teachings are Afrocentric. By virtue of the idea, look at the birthplace. The birthplace of the children of Israel is Kemet. That's in the Torah. That's in the Torah. And I'm speaking absolutely truth. Judge can't play prosecutor, my brother. And I'm speaking absolute truth. So what I'm saying is this. All
right. We get into the next one now.
And we agreed that we was going to keep our grievances behind closed door. So I kept the issue of the New Testament behind closed doors. Period. I'm not putting no chaser on it. I'm talking it like it is. Next one, brother. Let it rock, man.
So if you come in with the Bible and you claim to be a Hebrew, how can you not accept Jesus Christ?
So let me make it.
Yeah, go in.
Let me make this clear. A lot of people don't understand history of the Bible or the biblical canon and how it came about. The New Testament, I'm going to school y'all real quick on some history. The New Testament was attached to the Old Testament in the year 325 CE Common Era by Emperor Constantine of Rome, also known as 325 AD Anno Domini. Before then, prior to that, there was no such thing as a New Testament. Did you know that? Did you know that when you go into the New Testament, every time they quote scripture, what book are they talking about? The Old Testament. The New Testament was not written until 300 years after Jesus was dead. With that being said, even Jesus himself didn't have a New Testament. So don't tell me that I need your New Testament for salvation when the idea for salvation was carved out of the Old Testament, which was around 300 years before Jesus was even born, my brother. And 300 years after he died, the book that bears his name, the New Testament, came after. Learn history. So when people going around saying, how is it that y'all hold the same book, but y'all all have difference of opinion? Listen, you could tell that we don't hold the same book. Look at ISUPK on the average street corner in Harlem. You might almost say they don't read the same books as brothers like Narmer and Zion Lexx, because they just talk different. You see it. When we talk, intelligence is at the heart of our speech. Period. Whether you like it or not. I'm speaking passionate right now because brothers done definitely riled up a lion. But in all reality, them brothers cannot hold no water when it comes to Torah and when it comes to truth. And the story of Jesus is a carbon copy out of Kemet. I put that in my book, Ancient Kemet on Trial. So y'all look stupid right now.
Damn. So hold on, brother. Hold on. Why you even saying that right now? Why was you going against the Kemetic squad? Because they were saying that. They was, see, now the people was probably saying, well, damn, Zion, now you coming out saying that because you probably upset that the gorilla made a video on you. Why are you now coming out saying that the story of Kemet? And is the story of Jesus Christ, is the name of Jesus Christ the same name as Yahawashah? Are you saying that those are the same people, or that none of them existed?
All right, let me explain something real quick. The Greek term Jesus is supposed to come from the Hebrew Yeshua. When you have brothers walking around talking about Yahawashah, these are brothers that don't understand Hebrew. You should learn that, number one. The Hebrew text speaks of a Yeshua, not no Yahawashah. So automatically you should know that you're in front of an authority when you have somebody that can correct that. Number two, what I went against in Kemet on Trial was Kemet trying to put the Bible on trial. I did not stand for Jesus in that battle. I didn't stand for that at all. At no given time did y'all hear me co-sign anything that come out of the New Testament. That's a fact. In fact, I had to defend these brothers a couple of times, but I never ever went on record defending that book. I want to make that very clear for the record.
So the story of Jesus is from ancient Kemet?
The story of Jesus actually precedes ancient Kemet, because as I proved in my book, Ancient Kemet on Trial, ancient Kemet did not author their philosophy, their religion, and their language. Ancient Sumeria did. So when you go into ancient Kemet and you find Isis, Osiris, and Horus, the carbon copy comes out of Sumeria, which is Nimrod, Semiramis, and Tammuz. So the story of Jesus goes all the way back to Sumeria, but in its most recent history is on the walls of Kemet. That's where I stand with that.
Now, you know, ISUPK is a powerful group, brother.
In what sense?
In the sense of deepness.
And it has Israel connected to it. You see, y'all falling into the bag where the European has convinced you that Israel is not a part of the Africa. You see, until the building of the Suez Canal, Africa and Israel was one landmass. There was only a separation after the building of the Suez Canal. With that being said, everybody knows that Israel is Northeast Africa. So for you to go on TV and tell people of African descent that they can't lay claim to this great legacy makes you a fool. You know why? I got Igbo brothers that I talk to every day in Nigeria. I got brothers that I talk to way out in the Sudan. I got brothers that I talk to from the Limba in South Africa. We have several Israelites in Africa, just like we have here in America. So for you, again, to talk about African and separated from Israel proves that you shouldn't be out on the street corner teaching a goddamn thing. Pan-Africanism has always been at the heart and base of the Hebrew Israelite movement. You cannot separate Pan-Africanism from our movement, because the bottom line is Israel's birthplace was in Africa. Israel as a people, geographically speaking, we come out of a Semitic descent. But Africa is a landmass which at one time
Semitic
occupied both a Hamitic
descent.
population as well as a Semitic population. So you had Semitic tribes.
That's why when you read the Septuagint, the Greek Bible, they don't call us Shemites. They don't call us Shem. They call us Sem. They call us Semites.
That lived in Africa as well, my brother. So we are African by geographical location, my brother. And you sound like a fool when you go on record telling...
All right, that's all good and dandy, but you do not believe that you're an Israelite. And maybe you're not. But you believe that you're an Indian. Maybe you do. You believe that you're a Cherokee. Well, if you're a full-bearded Cherokee with an afro, then you're an Israelite. What's the problem? Oh, the Bible, it was given to us by our oppressor. I don't believe it. That's your history, bro. You don't believe me? What is this then? This is found in New York, Ohio. All right, refers to a set of artifacts allegedly discovered by David Warwick in 1860 with a cluster of ancient Indian burial mounds near New York, Ohio. The set consists of the keystone, a stone bowl, and a Decalogue. Do you know what a Decalogue is? Do you even know what a Decalogue is? Decalogue. This means 10 commandments. With its sandstone box. They can be viewed at the Johnson Humrick House Museum in Coxton, Ohio. The site where the objects were found is known as the New York Earthworks, one of the biggest collections of the ancient American Indian culture, as the Hopo that existed approximately 100 BC. Do you know what the Earthworks is? This is the Earthworks. Look how huge is the serpent mounds, all of that stuff. So, this is a video.
Here is another great story. This is known as the Ohio Decalogue stone.
This is in America. This is a Negro,
This has a
full-bearded afro. Get with the program, man,
under the
for you good
largest
left.
mound that we know of in North America. It was not too far from the city of present-day Newark, Ohio. It was a stone mound, which we call a cairn. And after removing the cairn by many thousand wagon loads, the rock was used to rip-wrap a lake and to build a dam in Ohio at Buckeye Lake. When they got down to the bottom, they found an earthen structure, a burial mound, like I've already shown you. 9 men were present, led by David Wyrick, who was a surveyor and a historian of type during that time period. They dug into the mound, and reaching the bottom of it, they found a wooden casket. They opened the wooden casket, and there was a body laid out, full skeleton. Again, as the air hit it, it literally crumbled before their eyes because of its age. Within minutes, it just turned to dust. But in that same body...
Because its age, it crumbled to dust. Meaning it's older than the bones in Egypt. We have to understand that these pyramids and stuff, a lot of these pyramids are even older than the ones on the counterparts on the other side of the world. So a lot has been hidden from us. But what we must understand is that we migrated to America, which was awarded to us in ancient times to our forefathers. So when we went there, was already someone was already living there. So we tried to evict them. We didn't evict all of them, and that's why they called us the Anasazi, the great enemy, because we tried to evict them off of our property.
Box was a stone box, and then it was cemented shut. By removing it, opening the thing up, they found this other black stone on the inside. That black stone in the inside is a form of Hebrew. It was totally readable of the day. It is still readable today, and it is a complete rendition of the Ten Commandments, found in 1859. Orson Pratt also saw this stone, and he recorded his observation of it in the Journal of Discourses, volume 13, pages 130 and 131, and I suggest you all read that. This stone right here today is on display in Coshocton, Ohio. It's at the museum called the Johnson Humrick House Museum, and it's absolutely gorgeous, and I recommend if you're heading out that way to go see Hill Cumorah or whatever, stop in Ohio. It's easy to get to, and take a look at this stone. It's absolutely beautiful. The archaeologists of the day, they're divided. Half say, well, it's definitely authentic. The other half say, no, it can't be, because before Columbus, nobody was here. Therefore, it has to be a fake or a hoax. Again, absolute tragedy for American archaeology. But here it is, another proof of Semitic involvement, and a tremendous one. If you notice above the carving of the man, who's in some type of robes,
look at his nose.
Also,
not real huge, but bigger than the European nose. That small little nose. He has an afro, a little mushroom covered cap. Meaning not a hat, meaning a mushroom shaped hair, because it's an afro. He has a beard, a full beard. This is you, bro.
Now, in this form of Hebrew, translated, we've been told it says Moshe, which is for Moses. We also have scholars today in Britain that are working on a language, an ancient Semitic language called Kolbrin. And in Kolbrin, that would translate into Mosiah.
In 1860, David Wyrick, he's a guy who surveyed the Newark earthworks. He was digging into a mound near those earthworks, and he found a wooden coffin made of oak. They opened up the coffin and found a skeleton of a man holding a little box. It was about 8.10 inches in size. The box had been cemented shut here. This, by